Well, hello and welcome to my video. This has actually been a requested video, is to compare the Hornby 040 Pecket against the Hattons 040 Andrew Barclay. Now obviously I've got a number of each of them, and for today's contest, as you will, I've decided to use Pecket Wren, which I renamed myself, and the Andrew Barclay Little Barford. And what we're going to do on this little comparison test between the two locomotives is basically we're going to use the Rin Exchange shunting puzzle, which is a layout I've used for quite a few years now, and we're basically going to see how well they perform as shunters. Basically the idea of the exchange sidings here at Rin Exchange is basically that of the Inglenook sidings shunting puzzle. So you have 9 wagons and you have to shunt them into different order to create a train of 5. But first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to do a performance running test on each of them. So I'm going to run each of them up and down the long siding so that we can see how well they actually run light engine, and then once we've done that we'll get on to some shunting. So let's get started. So first up is the Andrew Barclay from Hattons, and as you can hopefully see, it's a nice smooth runner, and it is as you expect with a modern ready to run locomotive. It runs just as well forwards as it does backwards, and it has good slow speed control as well, which is always beneficial, and through point work as well. So it's already a good example of what you expect, particularly for an 040 locomotive. So let's now see how the Pecket does. So now we have the Hornby Pecket. Again, it's an 040 locomotive, and again it's a superb little runner. Now the Peckets came out first, and they've been out for a number of years now, and Hornby have just announced that they are going to do the 060 version, which I'm actually really looking forward to getting. I've already got it ordered through Hattons, so that's going to be quite a nice addition to my industrial locomotive fleet. And just like the Barclay, it runs beautifully forwards and backwards. The control is really good, and I'm very pleased with both of these. Now all my locomotives are analog DC. I don't do DCC, it's not for me, it never has been, and I think it's always one of those that I'm always just going to be DC. So obviously all this testing is on DC. What they're like on DCC I don't know, but there's probably hundreds of other videos which will tell you exactly how they perform. So anyway, on to the shunting puzzle. Now as the Pecket is in almost prime position, let's see how well it shunts the yard. Well, hopefully you should be able to see now that we've got a bit of an aerial sort of shot of the layout, and you should be able to see that there's nine wagons on there, and we're going to shunt them into a bit of a mixed order with the Pecket, and get 5 of them in this particular order on the road that the Pecket is currently running along. So I'll drop the camera down so you get a slightly better view of the trains running, and we can make a start with the shunting. Now the wagons we have on here today, they're a mixture of both kit built and ready to run. So some of them may not run as well as others, but generally they do run pretty good. And basically when you're doing something like a shunting puzzle, what you want to do is to get which wagons you want in your train in the siding. Obviously that's the main objective. I like to try and get all those wagons in there first, and then rearrange them into the correct order afterwards, because it's a lot easier to do it that way, and it's the way that generally it would have been done on the real railways. So that's generally what we're going to try and do. The other situation we have with this particular layout, which makes it all the more interesting, is that there is only enough room for the locomotive and 3 wagons in the head shunt ahead of the farthest point. As such, it does mean that certain amount of thinking ahead is required when it comes to getting the right wagons in the right place. But given that both the Pecket and the Barclay are designed as shunting locomotives in their real and natural environment, it makes these a lot better to, well, it makes them an ideal locomotive to trial on a little shunting layout like this. Now the tool that I'm using to do the couplings is basically a piece of rail that's been bent at 90 degrees at the bottom with a piece of clear, well, white plastic card stuck to it. It's nice and simple. It means I can see the bottoms of the tension locks, and generally they couple quite well. But obviously with these being a mixture of kit built wagons, some of the couplings are a little bit stiff, so you might find that the wagons lift occasionally, which can make things a little bit interesting. And yes, I did just knock a wagon off. Oh, went back on the track. I'm not going to tell you the particular order that I want things in, because I want to sort of keep it a little bit interesting for you, and hopefully it'll all sort of well come together. As you can see, the Pecket is performing rather well. And we should soon have our train based wagons assembled. This layout itself is built on an old baseboard from a previous club layout. It used to be the joining piece between the front scenic section and the rear main fiddle yard, and basically it's 4 foot long by 1 foot wide, and it's just, you know, basically I made it into a small railway just to, well, basically to do this, you know, as some shunting practice, bit of entertainment for exhibitions and so on, after the layout was scrapped. And there we have a classic example of 2 of the couplings just not quite behaving themselves by going back down properly, so they're going to need a bit of adjustment. So there we have another example of the couplings not behaving themselves. I think we have a slight difference in coupling height, these two. Not to worry. If I was out on exhibition with this layout, then obviously I'd make sure the couplings were working correctly and all at the same height and everything. But for what we're doing today, these are just going to be perfectly fine. So our first wagon is in position where we want it, which is the box fan. As indeed are our next two wagons, which is the coal wagon and the open mineral. And now to get our last few wagons. Which of course is the two empty china clay wagons. So that is the Pecket, and as you can see it's shunted the wagons really well. It's nice and smooth throughout, and you know, it's done exactly what it's been designed to do, which is obviously to shunt wagons around. So obviously our next locomotive is going to be the Barclay. So let's swap the engines over and do a little bit more shunting. other train completed. So there we go. Both engines have performed really well with their shunting tasks to create their relevant trains, and the only real difference I'd say between the two is perhaps that the Barclay is a little bit more noisy than the Pecket, but it's not a negative on it at all. I'd say it doesn't make the blindest bit of difference, particularly not to me. They're both really good quality models. They both look and run equally well, and they're certainly well worth getting if you have an industrial area or you are an industrial railway enthusiast. Hopefully going to be starting to make a few more model railway videos. I do actually have another layout which is currently in build, so I'm going to do some bits on that, and there's a little preview for that coming up now. So there we go. That is the new colliery layout that is being in build at the moment. I'm still at the wiring up stage. We only have one line running, but hopefully very soon we'll have the whole layout running, and I am intending to show you more and more videos of it as bits of it develop. So this actually concludes my video for today. As I said earlier, please do make sure you hit the subscribe button, don't forget to like the video, feel free to share it around, and until next time, happy modelling!